But okay, this game was actually not that long. To be honest, he just ended up offering me a quick draw out of the opening, which was not super unexpected, but I wasn't sure if that was gonna happen or not. I kind of expected him to play as well. But we'll go through the game. We'll see how it happened. He started with e4, and I actually did something I almost never do during this game. I prepared the move c5 here, and I was ready to play the Sicilian. But then, as I was just kind of like walking to the game, I was just thinking about how I wasn't super comfortable with this, and there was just a lot of different lines that I wasn't sure whether I was going to be handling them correctly. And then I decided to just go back to the pet line that I've been experimenting over the past year, knight c6, which I would have to say was a very risky decision for this game, because not only is the line risky, but also my opponent Andranik, he's been playing this line for many years. It's one of his specialties. In fact, he's been playing it since before Magnus picked it up and before it became kind of popular in the last couple, like maybe 1 or 2 years. So yeah, I felt a little weird playing his own pet line against him, but at the same time, sometimes this is an interesting strategy, because if someone is only playing an opening from black side, for example, then they might not be super comfortable handling it from white's point of view, though that's not always the case. But okay, so he played knight f3. I went for d6, and the point of this line, for people that haven't seen some of my games here, is basically to play Pirt's defense with early knight c6. Eventually black plays knight f6, and the idea is to quickly play g6, bishop g7 in castle, and basically black is trying to provoke white into pushing an early d5 here. So like bishop d3, g6, knight c3 is also possible here, of course, and leads to a bunch of different lines. And here white has a big choice after g6. One of the big main lines is to push d5, and black's idea in the system is usually just to go back, knight b8. And what Magnus actually said about this line very recently, I think this was on like the Chess 24 banter blitzes, he said basically to open this diagonal for the bishop is worth 2 tempi, because black has wasted 2 moves with the knight c6, knight b8, but on the other hand, the diagonal is now open, the bishop is going to be really strong. And it's a very controversial trade-off, because 2 tempi is quite a lot, but I think these positions are really interesting for black to play. So I don't mind playing this. It's similar to King's Indian, which I'm happy to play. A lot of times black plays strategically, just goes bishop g4, takes the knight on f3, and then plays this middle game with 2 knights and a bishop, but controlling all of the dark squares and everything being coordinated extremely well. But okay, in this game my opponent instead played c3, which is also, I think, quite a reasonable move, and it keeps just like a more solid position for white in the center, so he's not really advancing anything. Bishop g7, castles, and castles. Okay, Will50 asked, why did you get rid of your green hair? Honestly, it was because it was just a lot of maintenance. I mean, you gotta dye it like every month or two, and then the color tends to fade out very, very quickly. And yeah, it's just a lot of, you gotta bleach your hair as well to get it light enough so that you can actually dye it, because you can't just put dye on dark hair. It won't really do anything. And so yeah, it was just too much effort. It cost money. So it was fun for a little while, but yeah, at a certain point you just kind of lose energy for dyeing your hair all the time. What can you do? It's like, like playing an opening like the Najdorf, where you have to just like keep exploring the theory, and you have to keep up to date constantly. Every month you just gotta review the new lines and run the analysis, Stockfish, Leela, Komodo, like hours on end, Bishop g5, Najdorf. It's just like way too much work. But thanks. I appreciate that you liked it. Maybe it'll come back one day. Who knows? Okay, so here my opponent played rook e1 and offered me a draw, and I didn't really think too long. I just kind of accepted it. I mean, the game is still in the opening stages. White is the one who's obviously pushing for the advantage here, because they've just played like a very normal setup and taken the center, and it's black who has to kind of equalize here. And having lost the previous game, which was earlier this morning, I mean the day that this game was played, I definitely wasn't in the mood to really fight, from a worse position. It was clear my opponent wasn't really in the mood to play either, because he, normally isn't offering draws with white, but I think at this point he had the same number of points as me, 2.5 out of 6, -1, out of contention for any norm already, and just didn't feel like playing. So I took the draw. Had the game continued, then I would have played the move e5 here. And this line is very interesting. I think it can lead to King's Indian type of positions, which again I feel quite comfortable in. White basically has a choice after black plays e5 to either push d5 right away and just close the center and play this King's Indian type of position, or white will quickly go c4, and we even just like transpose directly into King's Indian. Or also popular is for white to simply wait with a move like h3 and not commit to closing the center right away, just keeping things more flexible, because not everyone wants to play these like annoying closed positions with white where they're getting attacked. Maybe they want to keep the center open. But on the other hand, with this move h3, of course, white has to be careful, because if the center ever does get closed, like for example, black can play rook e8 here, kind of putting a lot more pressure potentially on the e-pawn and kind of inviting white to push d5. Well, now that white has played the move h2, h3, for King's Indian players, usually this is a hook that black can use for the attack. So this is not always such a useful move for white to have made in this position. In fact, a lot of times it's a real target for black's initiative. And from here, black just goes h6, knight h7, f5, and the pawns just start rolling, f4, g5, and one day black tries to break with g4. So these positions, I think, are strategically very rich and very, very complicated. Magnus has played this line a couple of times recently. White can also just go for the immediate d5, knight e7, c4, and for King's Indian players, I think we definitely feel comfortable here. I was looking a little bit how to play this position exactly. I think there's a couple of interesting moves here: h6, knight h5. I think someone even just started with a5 here, which is just very interesting, just trying to shut down white from being able to expand so quickly on the queen side, because of course white's plan is always to push like a3, b4, c5 and just get everything going, and in the meantime get ready to prepare black's initiative, maybe knight d7 and f5, or again this classic plan of h6, knight h7, and then f5 anyway. So yeah, I don't know if the game continued, certainly all three results would have been possible, but as far as the tournament went, I had 2 more games the next day against 2 grandmasters, I might add, so I definitely could use the extra prep time. I decided to just take the draw, call it a quick night, I should say, and